Yeah, good afternoon to you, everybody here. And it's wonderful to be here with you all. For me, unfortunately, of course, our chairman, Mr. Sakir Sheikh, was supposed to actually be on the dais. So I got a call this morning at 9:30 asking me to be here because his daughter was in hospital. So I'm here totally unprepared, but very happy to be with you all and share my thoughts. Okay, so that's the topic, operating in the Middle East versus the rest of the world. I've done my best to, this presentation again was Sakir's presentation, so I haven't sat down to change anything on it. And I've just educated myself a little bit about what we do versus what else is happening in the world and put my thoughts together on this. So I'll just go with the flow. Okay, so yeah, so talking about the Middle East, I just trying to break it down into various subtopics. And when I'm talking about the regulatory environment of the Middle East, basically it's a favorable climate and a government-backed incentive kind of space to be in. And there are certain regulatory inconsistencies that are there in comparison to the rest of the world, more so in comparison to the US. As far as the market demand and the client base is concerned, we are of course dominated over here by high net worth individuals and royal family members. So there's a strong demand for large cabin aircraft, and the growth is driven by oil wealth, basically. When we're talking about the infrastructure and support services, modern FBOs are there in the major hubs, but the infrastructure gaps in the secondary cities are there. And there is a reliance on foreign MROs, basically for providing their services within the Middle East. We have certain cultural and operational considerations also that are there, and that is basically the business is driven by relationships and discretion. The white glove service is expectation that we have to provide here. And the cultural norms also do impact operations, basically. When it comes to the financial and taxation, of course, no personal or corporate income tax is there in many of the Gulf countries. Favorable conditions for asset ownership and offshore structuring that is there. And, but the currency risks and reliance on the US dollar-based leasing and financing is one of the issues that is there. So I'd probably just concluded with the Middle East having strong demand, high net worth individuals, clients, and low taxes as their strengths in comparison and to the challenges being regulatory inconsistency, infrastructure gaps that are there. I may not match what's on the screen, but I didn't want to get down to comparing my speech with what's on the screen. Yeah, and I'll now move down to the APAC region in a similar flow, where the regulatory environment is fragmented and the emerging markets are showing very slow bureaucracies. The market demand and client base again is a rapidly growing high net worth individual base, rising corporate use of private aviation that is predominantly there. And the demand for mid-size and long-range aircraft is, again, something that is extremely high in this region. as far as the infrastructure and support is concerned, it's uneven infrastructure, airport congestion in many of the cities, and limited skilled aviation labor that's available in these places. As far as cultural and operational considerations are, we have wide tax jurisdictions, import duties, VAT and GST as the negative implications that we have there, limited skills and localized strategies that you have to adapt to in each country. As far as, so to just summarize that, I'm saying that as far as APAC is concerned, it's a growing market, emerging wealth, and a strategic hub. And the challenges are fragmented regulations, infrastructure gaps that are there, and the bureaucracy. And of course, finally, I've just taken the US as the third market. Here, the regulatory environment, of course, is mature and transparent, as well as, and also a little complex. As far as the market demand is concerned and the client base is concerned, of course, we're looking at a very diverse clientele and a wide airport network and operational scalability that's there. As far as the infrastructure and support is concerned, of course, extensive infrastructure and complex evolving tax codes that they have. As far as the cultural and operational considerations are concerned, there are potential bonus depreciation tax incentives for Part 91 and Part 135 operations. They have a transparent financial system and complex evolving tax codes. So out there, I'd say that the US has a stable, scalable, and mature market. And as far as the challenges are concerned, it's a highly competitive market, and regulatory and the tax complexities are high. I'm just summarizing, when anybody wants to get into the market to start an operation, I think you'd probably look at your company's risk appetite and the resources and the strategic goals that you have for the organization before you decide where you want to penetrate the market. So as far as the mature market of the US is concerned, risk levels are low, the ROI potential is steady and predictable, the regulatory clarity is high, growth trajectory is moderate, and the capital requirement is high, entry costs are high, but there's a very, very clear path ahead. As far as the developing markets, which is the Middle East as well as APAC, the risk levels are medium to high. The ROI potential is high but volatile and slower to realize. The regulatory clarity, it varies widely. Growth trajectory is high in the APAC and steady in the Middle East. And the capital requirements, of course, moderate to high with localization and a lot of government engagement that needs to be there. Just to kind of summarize this, I mean, if there is anybody looking at a phased induction of a new organization, I just tried to have a look at that to understand which would be the best approach. And I basically think that, you know, it's great to establish something in the US first so that you can get stability and infrastructure and build credibility, operational maturity, and financial foundations. And probably the key action items that I would think were there would be to set up a core operations base, offer turnkey management and charter services, invest in FAA compliance, data systems and training, and use US operations as a brand credibility anchor. Uh, Phase two would be to expand to the Middle East with a premium client acquisition. And the goal would be to capture the high net worth individuals and royal clientele with bespoke services. Key actions would be to open regional rep offices in partnerships in Dubai and Riyadh, hire culturally fluent client-facing staff, leverage US brands and to attract prestige clients, and form alliances with luxury brands and concierge services. And finally, of course, to enter select APAC markets, basically in looking at it from a long-term growth perspective. The key action items would be to build partnerships with local operators or FBOs, launch brand awareness campaigns targeting emerging HNIs, and offer a hybrid management and fractional ownership model. So I think with this, I'm just summarizing that I would just like to inform you that, yes, Titan as an organization, we are in all these markets now, the US, in Dubai, India, and Indonesia. And just last week, we opened an office in Malaysia. So, it's been a long ride, but it's been fun on the way, and I think we're enjoying the ride. So thank you so much, everybody, and we look forward to partnering with all of you all in the future. Thank you.